where you scream to watch that, watch this, and I'll dive down through this hairy flesh.
Hi and welcome to Watch This. I'm CJ Johnson. Thank you for joining me. Scottish filmmaker Lynne Ramsay takes quite a bit of time between her feature films. She started in 1999 with Ratcatcher. In 2002, she followed up with Morven Caller. But it wasn't until 2011 that she came out with her next one, We Need to Talk About Kevin, based on the best-selling literary book. And now she has come out with You Were Never Really Here.
I'm gonna ask you some questions. How many are there?
One guy inside the front door, second guy on the top floor.
After the tone, please leave a message.
It's done.
So it's a long time between drinks for her. She makes very specific films. They're dark, they're gritty, they're edgy. And to my mind, they've got something else going on as well, but I'm going to discuss that with Christie Aucamp-Schutte and Adam Boyes, who have both joined me. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey, CJ.
We've all seen this 89-minute dark fantasy starring Joaquin Phoenix as, well, I guess he's not really a hitman. He's kind of a fixer. He's someone who does illegal work for money. And along the course of this film, we find out that he gets a job to rescue a girl from bad men. And other than that, everything, as is the case with often Lynne Ramsay's films, of which I've seen all of them, everything has varying levels of ambiguity. And her stories are told without giving you everything. You get glimpses and snatches and bits, but there's always room for you to fill in. I find that that's sort of how she works. How did you find this film?
Totally agree. I had to go and look on YouTube after and be like, explanation.
Did you?
Analysis, because I got it. I got most of it, but a lot of stuff I was still, but what about that? You know, and then once I watched that, I was like, Jesus Christ, wow. So this film makes you work hard. I think I took it too much at a first glance. Is that the? Yeah.
Sure.
But I thought it was fantastic. But it really does make you work.
Do you think it makes you work too hard, Adam?
No, that's just right for me. I really enjoyed it. I think she's masterful at what details she gives and what she doesn't. And she's adapting. So the work is done for her in a sense in the novels. The detail and the research has gone into the work. And she decides, I assume, that, well, the audience doesn't need to that explain to them. It's inherent in the behaviour of the character. Let's enjoy that. Because this character doesn't need to tell us why he operates a particular way, but it's how he operates.
State Senator Albert Vato. His teenage daughter's missing.
What's the lead?
He got an anonymous text with an address.
I've heard of these places. They said you were brutal.
I can be.
I want you to hurt them.
So there are. Let's break it down into three strands of the film. There's this sort of the introduction to the character, played by Joaquin Phoenix, named Joe, who's doing a job in Cincinnati, which just sets him up. That isn't the important job. Then he goes back to New York and he gets the job that we're going to focus on throughout the movie, which is only, 89 minutes. So it's all happens very fast. And then there's where he comes from, his background, his previous profession, which absolutely feeds into why he does his current job, both in terms of his skill set and also in terms of his deep, deep psychological trauma. And it is both the current job and his background that are both quite ambiguous. They're both filled in with this sort of Lynne Ramsay style of flashbacks and bits, and it's almost like she takes the story and then removes chunks and says, you have to fill those chunks in. You found it too much, or Christie, did that annoy you? Did you find it? No? Okay.
I liked it. Even with having to piece stuff together after the film, I still found it very beautiful. It was a strange film, I found. It was a strange film, and the ending left me, that's quite nice, actually. No, I really enjoyed it, and it was just fantastic how she does the flashbacks, and we explore this guy's PTSD and the way that Lynne Ramsay does it. was just, it astounded me. It was a sensory experience, and the guy acted it so amazingly.
You mentioned that you found it beautiful. I think it was too. I mean, cinematographically, this is a stunning film.
Yeah.
And also the use of sound, the music by Johnny Greenwood.
Incredible. Yeah, he's stunning. The unexpected use of sound the entire time. Also, things like what we're seeing a lot nowadays is quite common is to use diegetic sounds as part of the score. So early on we see the buffer, which transitions into running water. So we're getting these chord progressions through diegetic
That's what's going
sound.
on.
And Mindhunter did the same thing. You'll see it a lot. Now that I've said it, you'll see it a lot.
Yeah. So you hear like a mechanical sound, like a tire spinning, and then this gravel, and then this knock knock. But actually, they correspond to certain notes that does something to us. Yeah, everyone's doing that. That's really cool. It works on me all the time. I love it.
Especially with the crescendo, and you go, it's a big door slam or something, or someone's gotten bashed, or jeez.
What I love, if I may, about this character, Joe, he's gotten to this place post his war wounds that he doesn't have to. His moral compass isn't clear. He's just going to do the job. He's going to do the job the way he's going to do the job. You know, he has an opportunity to protect or rescue or use those skills altruistically while doing one of the jobs, and he doesn't. Just focuses on the one person he's got to look out for.
Yeah.
And I found that quite interesting.
Yeah, that's true. He does. I mean, he does sort of present to have this almost like superhero level of moral code at one point, and then you find that that's probably kind of subverted by his actual actions, because not everything he does in pursuit of that is only done on the bad guys, I suppose.
Or he doesn't have to rescue every innocent. That's the other thing. Yeah, he's not, I protect all innocents. No, I do my job, and if I have to hurt people along the way or murder them, I will.
Yeah. The world building around him is fascinating. Like, there's a person he goes to kind of, who he works with, you know, his kind of minder or payer or agent, as it were, you know,
broker,
his agent, his broker. And that's just a fascinating relationship, and how it takes place and the milieu where that exists, and the fact that, like, you know, there are jelly beans. He has jelly beans that are full of details.
I don't like green ones, and then the squish. It's so beautiful.
Get up, can you hear me? My name's Joe. It's okay, come here. Close your eyes.
Where are you going?
Taking you to your dad.
She also, I guess, besides in the adaptation from book to script, removing stuff, she removes stuff in the edit specifically. So the film is incredibly violent, and yet it doesn't necessarily show you the moments of impact. You know, she cuts away from the actual moments of impact and shows you the stuff around it. And so you have this feeling that you've watched something heavy and nasty, but it doesn't actually necessarily feel exploitative, would you say?
Or gratuitous. Or,
Totally. No, that's what I liked a lot about it, because when it comes to violent films, I can't take it. I go, and I don't watch. This, I could keep my eyes open the whole time, and I loved it. And I found it, it was even more sort of eerie in a way, the way they showed the violence without sort of the violent hacking away of people and the bloody sounds and everything, almost with no sound, just sort of some few bangs here and there.
One of the early scenes when he does do a bit of what he's good at, which is using his skills for violence, is done all through security cameras. And it's very, very, very clever. I mean, I've seen that done before, but I've rarely ever seen it done this well.
It felt so realistic when it was through the security cameras. You really got that, and it felt like a real
And it was
place.
silent, because you were actually hearing the video camera's sound feed, which was non-existent. Yeah. Now, what about Joaquin Phoenix himself? I mean, I know he shot this back-to-back with Mary Magdalene, so he's in his Jesus robes here, metaphorically. He's got his Jesus beard and his Jesus hair. He's always been a good actor, but he's really become incredibly soulful. I mean, he can hold a screen without saying anything, without doing much of all.
Oh, totally. Those sad eyes, you know, just
does
want
have
to
sad
burst
eyes.
into tears, you know, half the time. No, he was a fantastic actor for this. And just sort of, he's so out of... you know, he's so large, and he's this big, hairy bear man, you know, but he's got these problems, and it's just so amazing, the contrast between his job, but how he suffers so much from his PTSD.
Wow, you found real sympathy for this
Definitely,
brutal murderer.
Oh, you definitely do, yeah.
Yeah.
And the scene where he's with that, you could assume is like a Secret Service officer, and they're just lying on the floor together and sharing that moment.
And they held hands.
Oh, that's right.
That is amazing, and they sing together. It's just gorgeous. Like,
that was my favourite scene.
Oh, big time. The last time we saw him like this, long hair, big beard, was another film with a similar title. Was the mock he did with Casey Affleck.
That's right.
I'm Still Here.
I'm Still Here.
And now he's done You Were Never Really Here, wearing the same
Oh my
image.
goodness, he is so meta. He is so meta.
That's what I would like to think, that he sought this role out for that reason. He didn't. It's just serving me.
But that is quite brilliant, because I know it's based on a book, and I don't know if they retitled it. If they did retitle it, then maybe they were aware. But if they didn't, then that is just part of his elaborate, brilliant, live his life as a piece of performance art.
I mean, he's incredible.
What is going on?
The cops are involved.
Where is she?
13 Sergeant 1 Central.
You got him.
Now, finally, I mean, my one thing about it, I like the film. I absolutely liked it. I love this kind of film too, whatever that means. But my one nitpick with it is I don't think it has anything to say. Do you think it's actually about anything other than just being a bit of a B-movie art house thing?
I think, if I may.
No,
yeah, please.
Please go.
I think it's, we've seen a peak in revenge thrillers. You had, and I was looking back at revenge thriller. It's a genre that just doesn't disappear.
No.
And, Liam Neeson, we thought, had redefined it. And then every older actor went out and started doing revenge films. And then John Wick really raised the bar with what we could do cinematically with stunts and, having stunt performers be the directors and the storytellers. We saw incredible stunt work, Atomic Blonde. We saw these just fantastic in these action thrillers. This is the art answer to it. So now we have an art response to the revenge thriller, and the reason it's 89 minutes, it doesn't have to be longer.
No.
It is a beautiful look at that genre, and a beautiful look at not having to. It's not a comic book. It doesn't have to tell you everything. Just get inside the head of someone who. What would it be like to be a person who does this for a living? This is what this film is, I think.
I'll buy that. Yeah, no, it doesn't need to be longer. I think it was just right. I think if it had been 15 or 20 minutes too long, much longer, then I think I would have started to feel that it was a bit of an indulgence.
I didn't know it ended, and I went, "Oh, it's over."
Right.
I was like, "No, what happens next?"
I know.
Where do they go? Give me more. I want more of this.
For me, I felt they did say something a little bit. It was subtle. I only sort of felt that at the end. It ends, and you're like, "Oh, okay. So what are you guys going to do now?" It's just sort of through all the terrible things that happen. Nothing really matters and life keeps going. This is just about, I thought it was just displaying that's just how humanity, the way humanity works when there's terrible violence, terrible tragedy. People just get on with it and it doesn't really matter and people don't really care too much. It's just sort of, boom, keep going. The ball keeps rolling. That's sort of what I got from it.
And do we think anything about the title? Without giving away too much about the film or about any surprises in the film, do we know what the title might mean?
Well, that's what I thought. I thought it related to the title, the way, just life just keeps going on without you, with or without you there. It's like you were never really here, alive or dead, it doesn't matter.
I think it's a brilliant title because I kept thinking about the title throughout the film. I kept having moments during the film where I was like, oh, that's why it's called that. And then I'd get a moment 15, 20 minutes later, I'd be like, oh, that's why it's called that. And then I was actually really afraid that at one point in the film, late in the film, one of the characters was going to say to the other one, you would never really hear it. I was like, don't do that.
Yeah, of course. I think Christie hits the nail on the head. The you is us, the audience, and this guy who's done a lot and does a lot, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I think you've killed it. It's just, we don't matter. And he thought he was serving his country and then he comes home and that doesn't matter. And every person he interacts with, everything's disposable, everyone is disposable, and he is disposable ultimately as well, you know, like, yeah.
On that nihilistic note, You Were Never Really Here opens in Australian cinemas on September 6th. You've been watching Christy, Adam and CJ on Watch This.
Don't worry. I'll get her.
It's okay, Joe. It's okay.